They called her a monster. They pointed, laughed, and turned away. Until the day she saved the very ones who shamed her. In the heart of a sun-scorched village, nestled between dry fields and dust-covered huts, there lived a girl unlike any other. Her name was Lali. She was born with only one eye. A single, large eye set squarely in the center of her forehead. From the moment she took her first breath, the whispers began. It's a curse. She is not one of us. God must be angry with her parents. Lali never asked to be different. She never wished to stand out. But every day, the people of the village reminded her that she did. Children would run away when they saw her, screaming in mock horror. The elders would shake their heads as she passed, muttering prayers under their breath. But the worst of them all were the laughs. Lali would walk to the stream to fetch water, and behind her, a trail of cruel giggles would follow. Young boys would point, making faces and calling her names. Some even threw stones, not to harm her, but to mock her, as if her pain was part of a game. Her mother, Mama Tula, always tried to shield her. She would hold Lali close at night, whispering stories of ancient heroes who were born different but destined for greatness. You are not cursed, my child, Mama Tula would say, stroking her hair. You are chosen. But the world is not ready to see it yet. The next day, the villagers gathered near the baobab tree for the seasonal festival. It was meant to be a day of unity and joy. But for Lali it was a day of dread. She stood in the distance, clutching her ragged doll, watching as the children danced and sang. Then came the moment that would change everything. One of the boys, Obu, the leader of the village children, spotted her. Look! The one-eyed monster came to dance, he shouted. The crowd turned. Some laughed. Others joined in. And then they began to chant. One eye, one lie. One eye, go cry. Lali froze. The chants grew louder. People pointed. Even the adults didn't stop them. Some chuckled, thinking it harmless fun. Tears welled in her eye. She turned and ran, the sound of laughter chasing her through the fields. She collapsed by the old mango tree on the hill, far from the village. It was her secret place. Her refuge. There beneath the rustling leaves, she screamed into the earth. I didn't choose this. I'm not a monster. And in the silence that followed, something stirred. A quiet breeze, soft and warm, brushed her cheek. And a voice, gentle, almost not there, whispered, You are more than they see. She looked around, startled. But no one was there. Just the wind, the leaves, and hope. For the first time, Lali sat up straight, wiped her tears, and whispered back, Then let them see. The next morning, the village was still abuzz from the festival. Lali didn't step outside. She sat silently by the small window of their mud house, watching the dust blow through the streets. Her mother tried to coax her into eating porridge, but Lali wouldn't speak. Her heart felt like it had cracked open. The voices from the festival haunted her ears. One eye, one lie. Go cry. But the whisper under the mango tree, the one that had said, You are more than they see. It stayed with her too. That night, when the stars blanketed the sky, Lali stood outside barefoot, staring upward. If I am more, then why can't they see it? She asked the stars. She didn't expect an answer. But in her chest, a quiet resolve began to grow. The days passed. Lali began to change. She didn't beg for their acceptance anymore. She stopped going to the village square. Instead, she wandered into the wild edges of the land, the forgotten trails near the hills, the thick woods where the elders never ventured. It was there, among the trees, that she found a wounded bird one afternoon. Its wing was bent, broken. It flapped desperately, trying to fly, but kept crashing to the ground. Lali gently approached it. The bird didn't run. Maybe it saw in her a kindred soul. You are broken like me, she said softly, lifting it in her hands. She took it home in a pouch and fed it grains. Every day, she wrapped its wing with strips of cloth. Every day, she whispered, You will fly again. Weeks passed. The bird began to recover. Its strength returned. One bright morning, it fluttered in her hands, as if asking permission. Lali smiled. Go, she said, and lifted her arms. The bird soared into the sky, strong and free. That evening, Mama Tula watched Lali as she sat under the tree, gazing at the clouds. You've changed, her mother said. Lali nodded. I still feel the pain. but now it doesn't control me. Her mother placed a hand on her shoulder. You are stronger than I ever imagined. One night, a loud knock came at their door. It was the village healer, old Kofi. He looked frantic. Tula, it's your brother's daughter, little Sua. She's sick. She's burning with fever. None of my herbs are working. Mama Tula grabbed her shawl and rushed to the healer's hut. Lali followed behind unnoticed. Inside the hut, the little girl lay pale and trembling. The villagers whispered of evil spirits, of curses, of death. Lali looked at the girl and saw a familiar pain, helplessness. Then, without thinking, she walked forward. Let me try something, she said. The room went silent. Faces turned toward her. The cursed one wants to help, someone scoffed. But Mama Tula stepped forward. Let her. Lali knelt beside Sua. She closed her eye and took the girl's hand. Then she began to hum, a song her mother used to sing, a lullaby of strength and healing. Her hum turned into a soft chant, one she didn't remember learning. Her voice filled the room. The girl's breathing slowed. Her body relaxed. Her eyes fluttered open. A gasp went through the room. The fever, it's gone, the healer whispered. Lali stood up, shaking. Her eye glowed faintly just for a second, then dimmed. The villagers were speechless. Lali didn't wait for applause. She turned and left the hut, walking out into the night air. Her chest filled with confusion and wonder. What was that power? Where did it come from? That night, as she sat by the mango tree, the wind spoke again. When you accept yourself, your true strength awakens. Lali whispered back. Is this what I'm meant for? The wind didn't answer, but in the silence she understood. Her difference wasn't her curse. It was her gift. The road ahead would be lonely, but she no longer feared it. The days that followed were different. The people of the village didn't laugh anymore, not openly at least. They looked at Lali with something else in their eyes. Confusion, curiosity, maybe even fear. Whispers followed her again, but they were no longer laced with mockery. She healed the child. There's something in her, something not of this world. Maybe we were wrong. But Lali didn't care about their whispers anymore. She had tasted something far deeper than their shallow judgments, purpose. She spent more time in the wild, following the pull inside her. It was like something ancient had been awakened within her, something buried beneath years of shame and tears. One morning, while walking barefoot through a thick patch of woods, she felt a strange tug in her chest. Her feet moved without thinking, leading her deeper than she had ever gone. There, in the middle of a clearing, stood a stone tall, cracked, and covered in moss. It looked ordinary at first glance, but when she approached, her eye widened. Carved into the stone was a symbol, a perfect circle with a line through it. An eye, she whispered. She reached out to touch it, and the moment her fingers met the stone, a shock of energy ran through her body. She gasped and fell to her knees. Suddenly, images flooded her mind. A woman, tall and regal, with one eye, standing before a crowd. Her hands raised, her voice strong. Around her, people knelt in reverence. A boy with one eye healing the sick in a faraway land. A child with one eye calming wild animals in a dense forest. And then her, Lali, standing among the stars. She stumbled back, breathless. I'm not the first, she whispered. There were others like me. Tears filled her eye, not from pain but from belonging. All her life she believed she was a mistake. But now the truth echoed in her soul. She was part of a forgotten legacy, a lineage of watchers, healers, and protectors. She sat before the stone until the sun dipped low. And when she left, she marked the trees around the clearing. She would return. It was sacred now. Back in the village, a change was spreading like quiet fire. Children who once mocked her now watched her from a distance. One girl, no older than 7, approached her near the stream. Miss Lali, can you teach me to sing like you did at the healer's hut? Lali knelt. It's not about singing, she said gently. It's about believing. The girl tilted her head. Believing in what? Lali smiled. In yourself. But not everyone was happy with the change. Obu, the same boy who once led the chants against her, stood seething. The same people who laughed with him were now silent in his presence. She's tricking everyone, he told his friends. She's not special. She's dangerous. But none of them agreed. Jealousy twisted his heart. He had ruled the children of the village with teasing and swagger. Now they listened to the girl with one eye, the one he had humiliated. One night, he crept out of his home and followed Lali into the woods. He watched as she knelt by the stone, her hand glowing faintly over its surface. He felt a shiver crawl down his spine. Witch, he muttered. I'll show them all what she really is. The next day a new rumor spread like wildfire. Lali is a witch. Obu saw her speaking to demons in the forest. Lali returned from the woods to find the village in chaos. Her mother was surrounded by angry villagers. Some shouted. Others looked away. Obu stood proudly in the center. She touched a cursed stone. Her eye glowed. She's casting spells. Lali stood still. The crowd turned to her. Is it true? Someone shouted. Are you dangerous? You've cursed us all. For the first time in weeks, Lali felt the sting of rejection again. Her hands trembled. But this time she didn't run. Yes, she said quietly, her voice firm. I touched the stone. I saw who I truly am. And no, I'm not dangerous. But I am different. The villagers looked at one another. You're scared of me because you don't understand me, she continued. But I've healed. I've helped. And all I ever asked for was to be seen as human. Her eyes shimmered, reflecting the light of the morning sun. If you still want to call me cursed, do it to my face. But I will not hide anymore. Silence fell. Then a small voice broke through the crowd. It was little Sua, the girl Lali had healed. She saved me, Sua said, walking up to Lali. You called her cursed. But she saved me. And slowly others stepped forward, mothers, children, even the old healer. One by one they stood beside her.
Obu's smirk faded.
Lali's eye scanned the crowd, not in anger but in peace. I'm not here to fight, she said. I'm here to rise. That night, she returned to the stone and placed her hand upon it once more. The wind whispered. The truth is rising. The path will be tested. But you are ready. The winds changed that week. Not just in the air, but in the way the village breathed. Lali walked through the market square now, not unnoticed, but undisturbed. The same people who once laughed behind her back now greeted her with quiet nods. Some even asked for herbs, for help, for a word of comfort. Still, not everyone accepted the change. A few elders spoke in hushed voices about tradition, about curses, about things not meant to be understood. But Lali didn't seek their approval anymore. She had found a different kind of strength, one that didn't depend on anyone else. And yet she couldn't shake a feeling. A heaviness in her chest. A storm was coming. One evening, as she walked toward the forest, she found her mother sitting at the base of the mango tree, staring off into the distance. Mama. Lali called gently. Her mother didn't turn. You've grown too fast, she said. You were once my baby who cried when the firewood snapped too loud. And now you speak with the wind. Lali sat beside her. I'm still your baby. Mama Tula turned and finally smiled, but there was pain behind it. They talk of banishment again. Of old rules. They fear what they don't understand. Lali looked down. Even after everything? Her mother touched her hand. You don't need their acceptance. But you must be ready. When light rises, shadows stretch too. The very next day, the storm struck. Dark clouds rolled over the sky without warning. Thunder cracked like drums of war. The village scattered for shelter. Then came the screams. A child, one of the younger boys, had fallen into the river. The waters had swelled, raging like a beast, swallowing everything in its path. The villagers ran to the riverbank, calling his name, searching desperately. Lali heard the cries from her home. She didn't hesitate. She ran barefoot through the mud and wind. Her tunic soaked before she reached the edge. There she saw him, clinging to a broken tree branch, his tiny hands slipping. Without thinking, she leapt in. The water was ice. It roared in her ears, pulling at her limbs, dragging her down. But her eye remained open, focused. She reached him just as the branch snapped. He screamed. She grabbed him, holding him tight as the current spun them into darkness. Then she remembered the song, the same one she'd hummed at the healer's hut. She began to sing it through chattering teeth. You are safe. You are strong. You belong. Suddenly a glow surrounded them. Her eye pulsed with light. The waters around her stilled, not stopped but softened. It was as if the river itself was listening. With the last of her strength she pushed them toward the rocks. Hands grabbed them. They were safe. Back on land, the villagers gathered around as the boy coughed water from his lungs. His mother wept, thanking the sky and spirits. Then her eyes met Lali's. The crowd was silent. Her mother pushed through, dropping to her knees beside Lali. You saved him, she whispered. Lali, shivering, nodded. And that's when it happened. The village elder, a man named Danto, one who had long opposed her presence, stepped forward. She is one of the old ones, he said. The legends, they spoke of her kind. Guardians of balance. Eyes that see beyond. He looked at the villagers. We were wrong. Lali blinked through tears. She hadn't asked for recognition. But now it came. People knelt. Not out of worship but respect. A whisper ran through the wind, as if the earth itself breathed her name. Lali. That night, Lali returned to the stone. This time it wasn't just glowing. It was radiant. A beam of moonlight touched it perfectly. As she placed her hand on the carving, the ground trembled gently beneath her. A hidden doorway opened. It wasn't a door made of wood or stone, but of light and memory. Inside she saw it. An ancient chamber. Symbols on the walls. Murals of people with single eyes standing beside creatures, storms, and flames. In the center, a crystal pulsed with a rhythm that matched her heartbeat. She reached out, and the moment her hand touched it, her mind exploded with light. She saw the truth. Her kind were guardians of balance in ancient times. Watchers who saw both the visible and invisible. When the world grew greedy, when people forgot their connection to the earth, these guardians helped restore harmony. But fear drove them into hiding. Over centuries they faded from memory, called monsters, witches, cursed. And now, after generations, Lali had awakened the legacy once more. When she emerged from the chamber, dawn had arrived. A new day. A new Lali. She stood beneath the rising sun, no longer ashamed. She was not just a girl with one eye. She was the bridge between what was and what could be. A week passed since the river storm. The village had changed, almost as if the wind itself had whispered truth into the ears of everyone who once refused to hear. Children now followed Lali not to laugh at her, but to learn from her. Women brought her offerings of fruit, beads, and herbs, not because they feared her, but because they respected her. Men who once ignored her now bowed their heads when they passed. But it wasn't the praise that gave Lali peace. It was the silence within. For the first time in her life, she was not at war with herself. The eye she once hid behind her hands, behind tears, behind shame, now stood uncovered, unafraid, and unashamed. One night, under a moonlit sky, the elders called for a village gathering. Lali sat beside her mother, her presence no longer a question, but a certainty. Elder Danto stood before the crowd. Long ago, he began, there were stories of people with a gift, one eye but two visions. One for the world of man, and one for the world beyond. We thought those stories were myths. Until now. He turned to Lali. You have brought healing to the sick, calm to the storm, and truth to our hearts. You are not cursed. You are chosen. The villagers murmured in agreement. What do you ask of us? One man said, stepping forward. Lali stood. Her voice was steady and clear. Only this. Let every child grow up knowing they are enough. Let no one be shamed for being different. Let no girl hide her light. Let no boy grow up thinking cruelty is power. She looked out at the crowd. The eye you mocked gave me sight. Not just of your faces, but of your hearts. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. The crowd bowed. That night, something extraordinary happened. Lali returned once more to the stone. The place where her truth had awakened. But this time, she was not alone. Children, elders, mothers, and fathers followed silently. They gathered around the clearing, watching her with reverence. Lali stepped forward and placed her hand on the stone one final time. It glowed, but not as before. This time, the light spread, into the sky, into the earth, into the people. Each person felt something stir in them. A warmth, a hum, a memory of the child they once were. the one who dared to dream. And then the stone cracked. From within a seed emerged, small, glowing, and alive. Lali picked it up and turned to the crowd. "This is not magic," she said. "It is hope. And like all seeds, it must be planted." She walked to the center of the clearing and placed it gently into the soil. She covered it with her hands and began to sing. The same song she had sung to the river, to the wounded child, to herself. "You are safe. You are strong. You belong." The ground trembled softly. The seed pulsed once, twice, then sprouted. A single stem emerged, and from it bloomed a radiant white flower, unlike anything the village had ever seen. It stood glowing in the moonlight, a symbol of change. The villagers gasped. Some wept. They would later say the flower never withered, never wilted. It stood at the heart of the village forever, a reminder of the girl who saw with one eye, but more vision than them all. Years passed. Lali became a legend, not for her powers, but for her kindness, her bravery, and her refusal to let others define her worth. Children born with differences were now welcomed with joy, not shame. Girls sang the song of the one-eyed girl as lullabies. And whenever anyone in the village felt lost, they went to the clearing, placed a hand on the glowing flower, and whispered her name. Lali, not as a question, but as an answer.